Hi there, I'm Drew Badger, the world's #1 English fluency guide, and it is a pleasure to welcome you to another advanced listening practice lesson. Well, in this video, this is another requested thing. Actually, maybe not necessarily a requested video, but it's a question that I do receive from learners all the time. Almost every other video, I tend to see it as a comment, and this is, why can I understand you, but I can't understand regular people speaking? Okay, well, let's talk about this. I think it's been covered elsewhere on YouTube as well, and I've even spoken about it before, but since more people continue to have the same question, let's talk about it. Well, right now I'm using what I call my English teaching or English education voice. So I'm speaking in a way that's quick, or I'm trying to speak a little bit faster than I typically do in English lessons. But at the same time, I'm still speaking quite clearly. And, well, in general, I speak pretty clearly anyway. Most people don't have a problem understanding me. Some people say I do mumble a little bit, like I'm talking like this, but not really. Typically, I am speaking quite quickly, and I'm taking care to pronounce my words clearly so you can understand what I'm saying. Now, if in a everyday conversational sense, the way I'm speaking normally, and you can see this in Master English Conversation videos when I'm not really making much of an effort to actually speak clearly. I'm just talking with, fellow native speakers, and this is how I train people to understand that kind of information. But I know not everyone can join us in Master English Conversation, so I thought I would talk about this specific problem in this video and how you can train yourself to understand more native speakers. So if you're listening to English lesson videos, and this is mostly what you listen to online, and you have trouble understanding what native speakers are saying, the reason is because they're speaking more quickly, they're using slightly different vocabulary, and they're typically having accents or pronunciation that's a little bit different from what you're used to. So even in America, I might hear another native speaker from Texas or from Oklahoma or some other state where, I'm from Chicago, I'm from Illinois, but the person from a different state might have not only different vocabulary, but they might pronounce something a little bit differently. I have one clear example of a Southern woman. Typically, Southern people have a different way of pronouncing things, and often people will say I have that, even though it doesn't really come through in the way I speak in these lessons on YouTube, but you do hear that more in Master English Conversation. So this woman, I used to go, I met her as a friend of my mother's or something, and we went to her house for dinner. And after dinner was over, she said, "You want some pie? You want some pie?" And I said, "What? Do I want some?" And I didn't quite understand what she was saying. Some pie. And I said, "What do you mean pie?" And she said, "Oh, pie. I'm pronouncing it clearly, and I say pie." So yes, she was offering me some pie, and she didn't have a pie in front of me, so it was difficult for me to understand what she was saying. So even native speakers have trouble understanding what other native speakers are saying, and even maybe from America to a different country like Australia or the UK or Canada even, our vocabulary might be different. So the pronunciation, the vocabulary we use, again, the speed at which we're speaking, other things like that make it a little bit difficult to communicate. So it's even more difficult for non-native speakers. Now, what I do to help combat this problem, so to combat something, to fight against it, what I do in Master English Conversation, the typical thing you should be doing is listening to not only the same piece of information repeatedly, but you should be listening to that said or spoken by, in a natural way, many different people. So this is one technique for helping you train yourself for being able to develop better listening. So you're listening to the same information. You always have that anchor when you're learning something. So when people are trying to learn new information, especially learning new languages, typically they hate learning new languages because they're learning too many new things at the same time. Like my name is Drew and they don't know any English at all, and that sounds easy to me as a native speaker, but if you don't know what my or name or Drew or any of that means, and you don't know why it's in the order it's in, it's making you frustrated from the very beginning. So in the same way, what you want to do is take the same piece of information and have multiple people saying that. Now, you could even do something like this, like let's say you work at a place with native English speakers. You might write something down or give them something to read and say, "Hey, could you just help me with my pronunciation? I want to develop my listening ability, and your pronunciation is connected with this as well." So you can give that to them and have multiple people read the same thing. So when we do our time-traveling lesson stories in Master English Conversation, I have multiple people reading the same thing, and we have them reading it at different speeds as well. So again, you take that anchor of the same story, but then you connect with that in different ways, and that's training you to listen to multiple ways that people might say something. You can even do this on YouTube. One of the ways I recommend people doing that is with music. So if you take music, you listen to something and you listen to a cover of that music. And this means somebody else, like a different artist or a different band that has decided to play the same song, but they play it in slightly different ways, or maybe they sound a little bit differently when they play it. So an example, like a common example is 99 Red Balloons, or maybe a song by the Beatles. And if you look up right here on YouTube, I'm sure if you type in Beatles, like the Beatles, like I forget how you spell it, Beatles. So the Beatles, and then you've got covers, Covers. So if you're typing in that right here on searching for something on Google, or on YouTube, I should say, you will find multiple versions of people playing the same song. I think the soundtrack to I Am Sam, the movie I Am Sam, these are all Beatles covers, and you can listen to the way the Beatles are saying it. So maybe someone like, the Beatles are from Britain, so they have a British accent, but then you have like a singer like Rufus Wainwright, who's singing a different version of the same song, but he has like kind of a more nasally sound like this, the way he speaks or the way he sings. So when you're doing this, you're training yourself to have the same native learning experience that a native speaker would, because you're listening to the same kinds of things that a native speaker would listen to, but you're doing it in a systematic way that makes it easier for your brain to understand. So this is why in Master English Conversation and in all the lessons I create, I want to have you learn things in steps, because what people typically try to do, learners will try to move from an intermediate level to a fluent level, and that's where they find a lot of frustration. So maybe they can speak in their English lesson, but they have a lot of trouble speaking in conversations for different reasons. It could be confidence. It could be not even understanding what they want to say, or not understanding the other people speaking. It could be many things like that. But again, if you take steps individually moving from one place to the next, that's what's going to help you improve much, much faster. Anyway, I'm losing my voice here. I'm recording a bunch of videos at the same time, but I hope you have enjoyed it. That is the end of this lesson. Just wanted to give you some quick tips about, number one, why you have this problem, and then number two, what you can do to solve that. Anyway, I hope you do enjoy this video. Again, if you have, click that like button, share this video with a bunch of people, become a subscriber to the EnglishAnyone.com YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye. To continue learning, click on the link in this video to download Speak English Naturally, our free guide to speaking and sounding like a native English speaker. The guide reveals the 3 most important kinds of conversational English you must learn if you want to sound native, and will help you experience instant improvement in your fluency and speaking confidence. To download your free guide on a mobile device, click on the link in the upper right of this video. To download your free guide from a computer, click on the link in the lower right of this video. I look forward to seeing you in the guide.